If you rely on a small number of safe foods, you might also feel this quiet pressure to expand what you eat. But at the same time, the idea of trying new foods can feel overwhelming or even impossible. So, how do you approach this without making things harder? Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Bays. I'm a researcher in nutritional psychiatry, and I focus on how nutrition impacts mental health, particularly in autistic adults. In my last video, we talked about why safe foods matter and how they often support eating in the first place. In this video, I want to gently explore something that sometimes comes next: how to expand food options, but in a way that doesn't remove your safe foods, doesn't add pressure, and doesn't create more overwhelm. I want to start with something really important. You don't have to expand your safe foods. If your current foods are helping you eat consistently, meet your needs, and get through the day, that matters. Expansion isn't a requirement, it's an option. And it's something that should only happen if it feels safe enough, manageable, and self-directed. So, why does expanding often feel so hard? Well, there are a few reasons this can feel difficult. From a sensory perspective, new textures, unfamiliar flavors, or even slight variations can feel unpredictable. From a cognitive perspective, choosing, planning, and trying something new all require energy. And emotionally, there can be past negative experiences, anxiety about how something will feel, or a pressure to get it right. So, if trying new foods feels hard, that's not a failure. It's a reflection of how many systems are involved in eating. One of the most helpful ways to think about this is not replacing safe foods, but building from them. Safe foods can act as a foundation. So instead of what completely new food should I try, a gentler question might be, what feels close to something I already eat? So that might look like a slightly different brand, a small variation in texture, or adding something minimal alongside a familiar food. The goal isn't variety for the sake of it. It's increasing flexibility in a way that still feels manageable. So next, we'll explore what this can look like in practice. So this process can be very gradual. For example, changing one element at a time, keeping most of the meal the same, or even just becoming familiar with a food before trying it. And sometimes expansion isn't about eating something new straight away. It might start with just looking at it, having it nearby, or including it on the plate without expectation. All of these steps count. It's also important to say safe foods don't need to go anywhere. They can stay. They can continue to be your reliable option, fallback, and support on harder days, because consistency in eating is still the priority. And from a nutritional psychiatry perspective, regular intake supports energy, mood, and overall functioning. So expansion should never come at the cost of that stability. A lot of the difficulty around expanding foods comes from pressure, feeling like you should be eating differently, you should have more variety, or that you're falling short somehow. But pressure tends to make things harder, not easier. So, a more supportive approach might be curiosity instead of expectation and self-trust instead of comparison. You're allowed to move at your own pace. If expanding foods is something that you want to explore, it doesn't have to be a big, overwhelming process. It can be small, gradual, and shaped around what feels okay for you. And it's also okay if some things don't work or if your safe foods stay the same. This isn't about getting it right. It's about finding what works for you. If you rely on safe foods, that makes sense. And if expanding them feels hard, that makes sense too. You don't have to force change. You can approach it gently, if and when it feels right. I'd really value hearing your experiences in the comments. Have you ever tried to expand your safe foods? What did that look like for you? You might also find my videos on why safe foods matter helpful if you haven't seen it yet. And if you're interested in more evidence-based neuroaffirming approaches to nutrition and mental well-being, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.